Storm Hopkins is the current president for the Watts Neighborhood Council. They're our neighbors. So this is going to be a great conversation. He's going to talk a little bit he does, and I'm going to ask some questions and they're going to answer. And then we also have Ms. Jacqueline Badejo. She is a past president for the Watts Neighborhood Council, and she's leading other campaigns and efforts in these neighborhoods. And these are some of the people that there's several of our CAP steering committee members are here, and our CAP leadership team members are here, Jackie and Storm, and they're really looking to hear from you. So I'm going to take this down and ask you both, pass the mic to you, and ask you to kind of introduce yourselves, and let's have this conversation. Are you there? I see Storm and I see Jacqueline.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Jackie, you want to start off?
Good morning, everyone. Hey, Cap is in the house. I'm so happy to be here today. And I just want to say also that I'm so very proud. This move that you guys are making, considering having a similar system to the neighborhood councils, is something I have been dreaming about since I was a teenager. We don't want to say how many decades ago that was, but this is the time. Now is better than ever. And so I served on the Watts Neighborhood Council for a total of 7 years. And during that time, I served under different positions, always as a transportation representative. And with that, I learned a lot. And it gave me opportunities to even also work for the city under the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, which is the city department that oversees neighborhood councils. And so with that, it's a lot. It's, this business right here, this is that real community business. And you have to be very focused and know what your goals are. There's always a lot of rules and regulations. You want to make sure that, you have some good bylaws, which will eliminate a lot of crazy things from happening. People read things, they have their own interpretations, and that's why the city, they provide the city attorney and things like that. But most definitely the unincorporated areas, they always had a close place in my heart because it has never been a real system. And then you see things happening and the community gets left out. And so it's getting to the point of what the work is really about. And that's about, being the voice of the community and ensuring that you have a sustainable process going on where everyone benefits from it. Where there's education to empower the people. And you have to make sure that you align with every department, every category. Make sure that you have a plan for it. That's a lot of intersection in many things. Let's take, for instance, transportation in relation to housing, how TOCs are used, the transportation-oriented communities. It's like so much policy around you. And while you're in the middle of all this policy, is being organized so you can tap into the places that you need. You might need something from the county, from public health, and, just like Willowbrook shares the same zip code as Watts, 90059, it's important to understand the value of that. And for a long time, the reality is they have figured out how to keep the community separated. I'm all about the hub and the dub and the spoke. So I always say the spoke is Willowbrook. And so you guys are so powerful. And I would like to let Storm speak and before we can move to questions and things, because I'm just like so excited. It can be all over the place.
My apologies. Good morning, everybody. I was trying to get to a closed location due to the construction in the background. So, brief introduction. My name is Storm Hopkins. I am currently the vice chair, the chair, and the transportation representative for Watts Neighborhood Council. I'm turning my camera on, sorry about that. So, brief overview. I am currently in my second year of facilitating one of the effective policy boards. Let me see. my passion started for my love of the community, things that I've seen that needed to be changed, addressed, and I felt like there were no voices of our generation aside from my partner Jackie, who passed the torch. Just so much disconnect and all the unity and the separation. I felt like it was a priority to step in. Let's say challenge that we face as elected officials and community leaders is sometimes our personal opinions and emotions can take get the best of us. And just some advice I would say, if you're not prioritized and you don't have a goal, politics will eat you alive. So at this point, we're really trying to structure our communities to back us up so we can be their voice. I currently partner with Compton, Willowbrook, numerous other neighborhood councils, so we can both share the same vision and goal, because it's a whole disconnect across the board. And I just feel like at this point, it's a crisis and an urgency for us to be leaders and bring our voices on the forefront for our communities. So it's a duty at this point. Even though we don't have paid positions, I feel like our due diligence and our service to the community is mandatory at this point. If we don't do it, who is at this point? So not to take too much of anybody's time, I'm opening for questions. I know we have other speakers. So I just appreciate having the floor for the few minutes.
No, thank you. I think that Jackie and Storm really gave some key insights and words. A couple of things we heard, and this is for the CAP members, a steering committee, both Willowbrook and Westmont West Athens. They talked about making sure you have good bylaws. And what that means is you have good governing documents, that you all have gone through the process, and it can typically take a week or more, right, Jackie, when you say to actually deliberate, have a draft, deliberate on it, argue on it, throw it out, walk out, then you meet again and you edit it and you get it down. So I think we're heading in that direction, Cap. And I put that in the chat so we can remember to review that. And they both talked about a plan. You can't go to the meeting. It's not in your interest to just come and complain. So I heard that both of them talked about making sure that we have a plan. And we have a plan. We've been talking about a plan. We've been looking at alternatives to incarceration. And so I want to pass that back to both Storm and Jackie. Since the neighborhood councils organized by the city of Los Angeles typically focus on municipal issues, trash, those kinds of things, community neighborhood issues like that, how do you see the issues of public safety, which is what the CAP is all about? Public safety, keeping the peace ambassadors, reducing the gun violence, the gang violence and gun violence in our neighborhoods in 90059. It has really been on the consistent rise since last summer. And so how do you think, what comments or experience would you share with this group about the importance of them staying committed to working on a plan for alternatives to incarceration and possibly the unincorporated councils dealing with, non-violent, non-criminal conflicts and issues, maybe a community court or something like that? What would you say about that?
You want to go first, Jack, or you want me to elaborate?
Go ahead, Chair.
Unity. If we don't get on the forefront as a whole, I would say different groups, entities, we have organizations that we support in the community. But if we're not at the table at this point, it's like we can either be at the table or we can be serving the people at the table and not get anything addressed, any of these conversations executed. So I would honestly say, just from experience dealing with public safety, the community, our rise in gang violence, just being in my community and being awake the hours I'm awake, I hear the consistent helicopters, the police chases. You get to see a lot of it hands-on. You see drive-by shootings in your community. You actually get to visibly witness it. It's a traumatizing experience, but it lets you know, like, this is our reality. Realistically, everybody watches movies and engages and see it from a different perspective, but we actually have to endure it in our community. And I think when you endure this type of trauma or any type of violence, you have a certain resistance and a resilience. So with the resilience, our community continues to show, like, we're survivors. We're going to arise from this. It just takes us to be the true leaders and lead by example at this point. I mean, if we see the youth, or we just see certain situations that we can influence for the positive and the greater good, to where we have more hope and it's a hopeful generation, I would say, they say it only takes one. As long as you can get through that one, I would say we have our foot in the door at that point. But if we're not executing and powerful influence and utilizing certain tools and engaging the community and the youth and putting, the tools for the people so they don't feel depleted, defeated, and like this is our sad truth. We're going to continue to lose and fall short of our fight at this point.
Storm, how do you think that we could engage more youth? We face that on our side. Someone brought that up recently, that some of the residents in the community who are active, that's what we call people on the front lines, right? On the other side, that some of our leaders, we can't reach them. They're not going to listen to Mr. I'm too old now. Who are you, right? Don't come tell me anything. So how do you suggest that we engage more youth? Our churches are struggling with that, our CBOs. What can we do to make this table of civic engagement more attractive to them? Do we just need to get out the way? Like, what do you say? How are you guys attracting youth and putting them in leadership roles?
We are allowing them to exercise their voice and not feel like their opinion isn't valid or vital, and being more open to hearing what they have to say and how they feel. Because at the end of the day, they are the future. And if we don't compromise and see things from their perspective and understand what they go through daily to understand why we are at this point or this division, or it's a big gap and a disconnect at this point. So just more so being influencers instead of trying to be the parent and tell them what's best for them. We ask them how to, engage with them more on their level as far as how they understand things. Like, they're so used to always being told what to do. Sometimes I would say asking them how would they handle certain situations, being more open to getting together and changing things how they would want them structured based on how we see what's best for them. And the disconnect, we never connect that. It never goes as far as giving them insight or advice. We have to open the platform, open doors. Sometimes we have to be that therapist that they never had. We have to be that big brother. We have to open ourselves in ways that, just step out of our comfort zone. I know it's a lot of experiences that we can probably see ourselves in them, the similarities, be more big brothers and that unity instead of just pushing them away. So I think with the youth and how the older generation more so wants to tell us this is right because of how they've experienced things versus allowing them to utilize their experience and building character for them so they can exercise and become the leaders that we see them as, instead of them just wanting to follow our leads. We're actually trying to bring them out of a shell to follow their lead. So we're learning from each other at this point. Because if we're not learning from each other, we can't teach anybody something. They're not going to be open. It's like talking to a brick wall at this point, and just from experience and just being that person on the other side too. Like, you can't tell me this. I know this and I know that, versus trying to be open and get an understanding of why you see things the way you do in your community or what change do you want. So it's more so coming to a mutual understanding and executing that, and from listening to each other on each side, and we can come together. That's just opinion, and it's something I'm practicing right now to make a fact, my theory factual. But so far, it's a process, and I'm understanding. But we've gotten from election 2 years ago when I spoke to the youth when I was running, the defeatedness, the emotions, the anger, like it was a lot of anger. It was basically what they seen. They thought that this was their reality. They had to follow in whatever the generation before them that they were seeing. So when we expose them to something else, and they can be themselves or step out of a character that they didn't even know would be something that's a comfortable place in growing, they have that space now, I think. So, Jackie, if you want to elaborate some more, you got it.
Yes, I would just like to say that all the work that everyone on this line has been doing for years shall not go in vain, especially with this move. And one of the most important things, and this is my approach to everything, is from a position of sustainability. You know all the needs of the community. You've been there, boots on the ground. And so it's just establishing the proper platform to ensure that there's a pathway for growth for everyone. And, we're talking about cleaning up trash and things like that. Like, for instance, the city of Los Angeles, they have a group, what is it? Street services, public safety. And what's the other one? Oh my goodness. Like, it's just a way that they have group things. But the thing is, they don't know what's happening on the ground. All they're doing is collecting the money. So you want to make sure that you have a system where you have eyes on all these policies that are moving forward, so you'll know how to tap in and organize. We're community organizers, and that's where this system will really help everyone. It'll be that platform where you can go beyond organizing to execution and implementation of things. And we have systemic racism in all these systems, and that's just the reality of it. We have all experienced trauma, whether it was, personal, individual, or even vicarious. I think the vicarious trauma has been so much more. So I really encourage everyone to even study how the neighborhood council for the city is organized and see those things, identify those things you want to take out of there that you think is relevant to the current climate of what everyone is working on, because outside of that, it's not going to move forward. And then relative to the youth, what my approach has been is really connecting with these schools. A lot of them, it's a major disconnect. We have to be honest, especially how everything has gone virtual. These children, these babies, our little ones, they are not learning anything. And if we can empower them, even with this type of knowledge on like the government, how it works, we can better connect them to opportunities so they can be positioned to become those leaders. It's so many young people. When I tutored a lot of kids who came from our community to the university, when you ask them where they're from, they hold their head down. They hold their heads down. That's somebody who done struggled to get there. And they told them they weren't good enough because they didn't pass that college level education. And so they only have a semester or two, or they're going to get kicked out and can't come back. So when we think about it in terms of the community, we have to make sure that we're organizing them. We need that excellent mentorship. That's not just going to say, hey, I'm your mentor and you should do this and that, but really connecting with them and seeing where their mind is, because it's going to be them. I always tell everyone, I don't care what I have to say or anyone older than me said. It's all about what the young people are talking about. And I really think that it's important for them to be involved in this process as well. A lot of neighborhood councils, they have what you call a youth position, but I believe that a young person should be also paired with the adults to show that intergenerational connectivity, because that's what's happened. They feel disrespected. these babies, we done forgot about them. That's the reality. I don't care about no policy or no grant or nothing like that. It's about the work, and just stay focused on the work because you've been there focused on it. You know how the best way to develop this system. Don't get caught up in like the process. Just really identify the things that you want to change. We always, I'm a lamb baby too. Los Angeles metropolitan churches, and we believe in the theory of change. You guys are the middle ground. And I believe that this you can always call on me for anything. I'm always willing to help, especially when it comes to what I have seen as many disconnects. We want to make sure that we, like I said, have that pathway and not just, oh, this is the road, but we're going to follow that road and make it stick, because they have to start respecting us at the end of the day. All this money coming down that's supposed to be benefiting the community, and then we still seeing the same thing over and over. And that's the number one thing that the young people are saying now. We tired of broken promises. So we have to make sure that this is developed to the point where it is not a broken promise, that is something that's solid, that's secure. And then we have our like I said, boots on the ground, making it happen, making it pop. Because if it don't pop, I'm going to just say, stop right now. Don't even do it to yourself. Because you have other people speaking about financial stuff, I won't get into that, but that's the thing. They always say, follow the money, right? And with following the money, it lets you see how things are panning out. I mean, for instance, for Watts, on city council agenda, they have Watts #1 for street service project. But are any of those projects in the Watts community? No. So you have to be very careful and make sure you read everything. I know at Lamb we joke, you gotta be an A+ student because this is real. You have to read and comprehend and know how to plan and implement. And I believe all of you are you have the capacity to do it. This is a good team. Thank you for having me. Peace and
Absolutely.
blessings. I'm going to go to another meeting, but I'm looking forward to the great work that's ahead.